Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J Cooley, and wow, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. I'm looking forward to having this discussion with this great gentleman that we're going to be discussing a lot of things, especially when it comes to music, comes to entrepreneurology, and a lot of other things that we're going to talk about. So I want everybody to go out there and grab you about 8, 9 bags of popcorn. Get ready because he's going to bring it. You know, but I can't do anything without actually introducing my co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Wow, this is a topic we've had on the show before, but it is so fascinating, especially what this guest is responsible for. And I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, everyone knows what entrepreneurship is, but there's just so much more. And we're really excited about this. I am going to introduce the show and the topic. So the topic is the music of entreprenology, the new equation flow of learning and audience. If you want to be part of the show, please just whatever live stream platform you're viewing the show in, send some comments, send some questions into our guest today. So again, the title of the show is the music of entreprenology, the new equation flow of learning. And we're getting to know Dr. James, aka Dr. Jim A. Omps. He's an international speaker, educator, writer, philosopher, composer, and musician with an expert understanding of entrepreneurship and entreprenology. He's going to discuss the importance of knowledge, experience, and imagination compared to academic rigor and sitting in a classroom, and why this is important today in pandemic times of change. And we're going to talk about his passion for music and how it relates to entreprenology. So again, Dr. Jim Omps. He has spent more than 35 years working with the IUE founder, who also happens to be his late father, Dr. James R. Omps. They work together developing and fine-tuning the discipline of entreprenology. He's also the co-founder and chief strategist who was involved in the creation of the World Association of Visionaries and Entreprenologists in 1991, actively working to take both organizations beyond the physical boundaries of the United States. He has traveled extensively in his bid to create greater visibility for the institution. With 40 plus years experience in and with businesses across the globe, US, India, Malaysia, and Asia Pacific, he brings open mind perspective to the table for examination, understanding. Entrepreneurs, entreprenologists are men and women capable not only of revitalizing stagnant or shrinking economies, they are capable of designing new ways to bring life to work, that the future will be a new experience for all. His motto is bring knowledge, experience, imagination together. And we have so much to learn about this guest today. So please welcome to the show, Dr. James, aka Dr. Jim Omps.
Hey, welcome to the show, Doc. How you doing? How you doing today?
I'm trying to figure out who it is you were introducing. I'll have to talk with my personal assistant when we're done here, Pauline. But no, I'm doing well, and I'm very honored to be on your show, Dr. Cooley.
JC.
JC.
It's an absolute pleasure having you on because Pauline has discussed you many times and all the great things that you're doing, and then combining music with a lot of these things it's absolutely sensational. So Dr. Jim, can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you, where you're from, what makes you happy, and why you do the things that you're doing now?
Well, I was, as far as where I started life, I was born on the eastern seaboard of the United States. To be specific, I was born in a very small town called Hancock, Maryland. My father, Dr. James R. Omps, it's interesting. I looked back, I was trying to do a forward for the book about my father's experience, and I remembered him as a very dynamic person. It was the end of World War II. He was just out of the service, and he went to work being a successful entrepreneur. Those are my first memories of Dad, and I think they're very responsible for what pushed me forward into kind of keeping the faith, as it were. And although I have, like Pauline mentioned and your wife mentioned in the beginning, I was involved with entrepreneurology for most of my adult life, and it's something that I became, in addition to becoming knowledgeable in what it was. It's something that really spoke to me, and I think that's very much the way that music spoke to me as well. They both became passions, and because I was passionate about them, it kept me trying to move forward. I worked with Dad, like I say, for a number of years, and we did take what he started with, and together we were able to refine and better define what it was we saw and where we were trying to take it. So I don't know if I answered the question at all, but those are the raw beginnings of where I came from, and it carved the path that I chose to follow as I grew, matured, and obviously got older.
We all have role models when we are kids and when we get adults and continue to grow. Obviously, I think your father was one of your role models, but who are some of the role models that helped shape you into the person that you are today?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if my mother qualifies as a role model, but she certainly was responsible in a large sense of sculpting the person that I became to be. She knew what my interests were. She always encouraged that, and she was always on hand to be a person that I could go to no matter what the issue was. And I'm not saying that made her different from most mothers. I think most mothers would be that way, but she was certainly a role model. And I've gotten some really interesting quotes from people like Henry Ford, and people say, well, he invented the car. Well, actually, his biggest contribution, as you know, was the assembly line. But he had a particular quote that he said that thinking is the hardest thing there is to do. That's why so few people engage in it. And that's something, thinking it isn't something that you can teach, but it's certainly something you can refine. And the other thing that's come along is in school, the trick is to teach people how to think, not what to think. And I love that quote as well. I can't attribute it to somebody off the top, but it's very meaningful. So I mean, and the deep thinkers, I got into philosophy when I was a freshman in college, and the great thinkers that the Socrates and Plato, and then you get into the modern thinkers, they all helped shape the person I am, because I think far too many people surrender the right to think, and that's a big mistake, especially in these days, because you really must be able to take something, think about it, and come up with your perspective. And as my dad would have said, that also, that if you can do that, you may be on the edge of creating new knowledge. And that's something we can always make use of going forward.
Wow. And you're right. We have to be able to think and have to have the right mindset. Many of us do not have the right mindset and do not think the proper way or the way things should be, because we're not focused on that. What is your thoughts? We got about 2 minutes before the break on how a person can develop the right mindset so that they are able to understand certain things. And we're going to talk about entreprenology and all that on the next segment. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, it's like you said, nobody should feel that they've been taught what to think. That comes naturally. As I said, when you're growing up, your parents, they're not telling you what to think, but they're certainly shaping the person, and they're shaping some of the things that you think about. Like, my grandfather, my father, they were always Republicans. Well, are you a Republican? Well, I can see that side of it, but it doesn't necessarily make me what they were. And that's, like you said, is something that you need to be able to examine things, to look at things. And I find when I feel like I'm stumped, I'm lucky. I have a lady that she calls it magical conversations. And the more you discuss something, the more perspectives you get, and the better it helps you come up with the various things that you need to know. And like you mentioned, mindset. And I can tell you for a fact, and like you said, we'll get into this more as we go on, but mindset is the key to being a successful entrepreneur or entreprenologist.
Mindset is key. We're going to take a station break. But wherever you're watching this at, whether you're watching on E360 TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, or over 45 live streaming platforms, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching on, ask Dr. Jim any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get your answer. It's your life. We'll see you after the break.
Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I've got this absolutely fantastic guest, Dr. Jim, Dr. Pal here, and we are getting ready to dive off into entreprenology, and we're going to talk about that. And Dr. Jim and Dr. Paulette and other members got an absolutely wonderful program that they are conducting and doing. And I tell you what, if you want to be part of the conversation, listen to what we're getting ready to talk about. And all you have to do is go to the platform that you're on and ask any question that you might have. Hey, Jim, can you tell our viewers and our listeners what exactly is entreprenology?
And I'm glad you asked that question, JC. Entreprenology, it is the direction that can be provided to help you learn the things you need to learn. And it would be presumptuous of me to say, I know what you need to learn. You know, and our job is to facilitate the learning process so that you can pick up the tips or the pointers or whatever it is that you need to know, and that we can, going forward, provide. Sometimes it's a more lengthy conversation to get where you want to be, but the idea of trying to help somebody determine what it is that they need to move forward, that's what entrepreneurship is all about. And I came up, this was obviously a few decades ago, Dad asked me to come up with a motto, something that we could put out there that said, oh, this is basically entrepreneurship. And I came up with bringing knowledge, experience, and imagination together. And all three of them, those are the elements that create the magic that entrepreneurship is.
So your role as the president, what exactly is the president doing?
Well, right now, the role of the president is to oversee the direction that we're taking. They say, well, you worked with your dad, you know the direction he wanted to take. What I remember about that is that Dad would come to me and he would say, Jim, listen to this now. And he would explain something to me. And he says, so what do you think? What do you think? And I say, Dad, I think that's got a lot of potential. And he goes, well, I don't sense the enthusiasm that I came into the room with. And I said, I'm not here to rubber stamp you. If I am, then one of us is worthless. If all I'm doing is just saying absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But we need to bring different perspectives to it. And as the president, the current president, I like I said, I try to put my spin on what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and that's what I've always done. And the future of entreprenology is in incorporating new knowledge, and everybody has a perspective. Those perspectives are important. So I don't. You can't dismiss anything out of hand, no matter how it seems to you. And I like to bring other people in the group on board and say, this is what we're looking at. What are your thoughts? Because I'm never certain that I'm absolutely right or that somebody is absolutely wrong.
Wow. So you keep mentioning they had probably was great working with your dad, learning from him, and vice versa, him learning from you. So I like how you put that. So your father was instrumental in entreprenology as well as you, right? In initial stage of developing this.
Well, Dad was when he got his PhD, he managed to procure a contract through the University of Southern Cal with USAID. And his job was to travel to Karachi, Pakistan, which is where his family ended up, oddly enough, and to create the College of Business for the University of Karachi. Once he had, with his team, completed that, he got an offer from the Ford Foundation in India to travel there. That's really where the study that became entreprenology started in earnest. And what he realized very early on was when you're at the top of an organization, your time starts to take on greater value. And you have to be able to, going forward, say, okay, I think the word is called delegation. You have to be able to delegate, but delegate wisely. And as he continued on with Ford, and he was there for 2 years in Hyderabad, India, that's where the basics for entreprenology were created from that point on. That was 1965. From that point on, he continued to develop and work with it. One of the early discoveries, if you will, JC, Dad was big on acronyms. Always, he loved acronyms. He came up with one that was CRIMP, CRIMP. And he said, these are what I consider, and his opinion, these are the unteachables. You cannot teach creativity. You cannot teach risk. You can't teach innovation. You can't teach motivation, and you can't teach perseverance. And over time, you learn the weight that each one of those words has. Because if you're passionate about something, and that was one that we've always been big on, if you're passionate about something, that's telling you what your direction might be. And Dad, he said one of his biggest frustrations with me was he was unable to motivate me. And that's where I educated him. I said, you can't motivate me. I have to do that. You can give me rewards or you can take things away, but in the final analysis, I'm the one that has to be motivated, and I have to be the motivator. So and I obviously I could go on. I mean, innovation, creativity, risk. How do you teach somebody to risk? And the biggest risk, and this was something we learned too, the biggest risk most people will take in creating the mindset that they go to work with is not financial necessarily. We learned this when we were in Asia, and that is the loss of face. That's the one thing you cannot replace. And that's the one thing that impresses me so much about what you're doing, JC, is you put yourself out there every day. You bring somebody like me on, but the one thing you're not risking is a loss of face. You have established that beyond any doubt.
Wow. I was reading about the coin, the phrases that you coined. You just talked about those. That was going to be my next question. But you explained it's absolutely fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship.
Sure.
When I know that you guys work with countries, work with a lot of different things. What is the audience that you are teaching and pursuing?
The audience that we targeted are the people that the people that for whatever reason decided to pursue either becoming an entrepreneur or doing things outside the norm. And I mean, the examples are myriad. You talk about somebody like Steve Jobs or Sam Walton, and the most interesting person there becomes the man that invited my father to Taiwan to give a seminar to the most successful businessman in Taiwan at that time, and that was 1971. So his class was going to be the most successful businessman in Taiwan, and the list was pretty heady. One of the gentlemen was Mr. Y.C. Wong of Formosa Plastics, which was one of the largest businesses in Taiwan at that time. But when he looked at the roster that was going to be in there, a little bit like me coming on your show today, it made him a little more than a little nervous, and he was really fussing. And he said, I believe this story has a point. He was going, Maxine, talking to his version of Pauline, my mother. He said, Maxine, how do I tell anybody? Because he was asked to talk about entrepreneurship, and they knew he had been a successful entrepreneur in his past. And he said, how do I tell these people how to do what they've already done? And I don't think I can do that. And he kept fussing and stewing about it. And he said, it's entrepreneurship, but in my mind, it's a little above that. And it takes in the elements of entrepreneurship, but also takes in, for example, crimp. And he goes, how? And Mom said, Jim, called him Jim too. Jim, just call it entreprenology and get on with it. And he said, entreprenology. I love that word. And that's where it came from. It came from somebody that had to listen to him whine. So I think a lot of the most usable knowledge comes from the people kind of like me that I whine to. But it was from that point on that things got really interesting, because the man who invited him to speak was Sun Yun Swan, who was at the time the Minister of Economic Development. That was in 1970. Dad gave a series of seminars over the next 2 or 3 years, again with Sun Yun Swan, bringing him back over and over. And Sun Yun Swan went on from being the Minister of Economic Development to becoming the Premier of Taiwan. And that happened in 1978. He was given the title of, he was the architect of the economic miracle of Taiwan. And if you look it up, you look up economic miracle, it happened between the mid to late 70s to very early 80s. And Sun Yun Swan was the man that was the architect. So he took the most successful businessmen, people, talked to them, gave them a bit of a new dialect, but in the final analysis, they re-examined where they had come from, where they were going, and the rest is, as they would say, history.
History. Wow, that's interesting. You know, we're gonna gotta take a station break, but we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk to Jim a lot more, and we'll discuss entreprenology. Also, we're gonna discuss his music. I have heard a couple of songs and I like it. So if you want to be part of the conversation, whichever platform that you're on, all you have to do is just go to the comments, ask them any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can do that too. Yes.
And if I don't know the answer, I'll refer to JC.
We'll come up with an answer. It's your life. We'll be back shortly after the break. Hello, I'm Dr. James J Coie, along with my co-host, Dr. Mike Mantell. And I tell you, if you missed last week's show on the first, where we talking about 360 degrees F, you certainly don't want to miss this week's show, because we got a absolutely fantastic, wonderful, sensational guest. Dr. Mike, can you tell our viewers and our listeners about our upcoming show?
I sure will. What an honor it is to be a co-host with you and to be working with Michelle. This series, 360 Degree Health, is remarkable. We just covered lifestyle medicine, a medical specialty that uses therapeutic lifestyle interventions such as whole food, plant predominant eating, exercise, sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances. And you recall Jessica Matthews took us through all of the importance of positive social connections. Well, now, on our upcoming show on Wednesday, we have the very illustrious, esteemed Colin Milner, who is the founder and the president of the International Council on Active Aging. He is a founder of the active aging industry in North America. And we're going to be talking all about how to live a long health span, healthy life, to be optimized in every way we can. Colin is a brilliant speaker and presenter. Wait for the information. It will add life to your years.
Wow. Also, we got a special guest that's going to appear on there. We got the Honorable Lord Edwards Tate. And I tell you, it's just going to be absolutely sensational. So I tell you, tune in Wednesday, November the 8th, to It's Your Life with myself and Dr. Mike Mantell, and learn a lot about aging, learn a lot about all type of things. And I tell you what, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Hope to see you there. Thank you. Hello, I'm Dr. James J Coie from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Welcome back to the James Coie Show. It's Your Life. And, I tell you what, I was kind of mesmerized just watching Jim, listening to him and him explaining all these different things. Taught me a little history, Taiwan and etc. So that's refreshing, and I know that you all are learning as well, so that's what you get on the James Coie Show. Is Your Life. Jim, I want to say one thing, that we just went over 30,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. My YouTube. That's a lot. So we just went over 30,000. I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners for making that happen. But that's not enough. We need to get 50,000. I'm greedy, Jim. I'm greedy. Yeah. So if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to whichever platform that you're on. Ask Jim any question.
Pauline just said to me, and I want to pass this on right now. She said, JC, you're an entreprenologist.
Thank you. I love it. I love it. I love what the work that you and Pauline and the rest of the team are doing. I love the relationship that you all have and working with other countries. I think Pauline was working with Africa and a couple other nations recently. And it's just But can you tell our viewers and our listeners what exactly do you guys do with these? And I think the age range was, and correct me if I'm wrong, like 16 to 22. One of the projects that you guys are working on, I'm not sure if the age was that, but I remember Pauline and I having a discussion about something like that.
Yeah, I believe you're referring to the work that she's doing with the very entrepreneurial woman in Malaysia that has a school for younger, and it's and the I call her a young woman because she's younger than I am, but the school she has is so different. So it's not about having somebody stand in front of a classroom and pontificate. We've all been there. You and I know what that's like, probably better than most. But this woman, she doesn't call them teachers. They're facilitators. They help you learn. And it isn't about teaching, it's about learning. You can stand in front of a classroom forever. My dad realized years ago, he said, if I ask a question in an average classroom, say, let's just take an arbitrary number, 30 people. He said, I would expect at least 20 different answers. But the way we have structured education, the rote education, it keeps people in a line, and the line is, what is it my professor wants to hear? Because it's going to be on an exam, I'm sure of that. And the more accurate I can be in giving it back, the higher my grade is going to be. And her name is Veronica. She has moved away from that. It's challenging the children, the younger people, to learn, and then they help the facilitators understand what it is they are saying. What is their perspective? What are they hearing? What are they feeling? And that's where we need to be in the teaching learning process.
So in what ways? Let me see. In what ways can entrepreneurs and entreprenologists design teaching methods or certain type of methods, new ways to bring life, understanding, where we are going to create entrepreneurs, entreprenologists, and teach our youth and young adults, along with everybody else, that if you work hard at something, if you really get your mind in it, if you open up, if you just share certain ideas, just like what you said, it's not teachers, it's everybody is facilitating and people are learning from each other. How does this program encourage, especially the program that Pauline is working with over in Malaysia?
Pauline put together, and this was based on what we call the principles of entreprenology. She put together what she called the matrix, and the matrix took it broke down the various principles into bite-sized pieces, and it isn't what I can tell you, okay, we're talking about the principle of observation. What is well, to me, the principle of observation that comes to you very young. Your parents tell you, look both ways before you cross the street, and that's great. What we want to know is when somebody says to you, we want a principle for observation, we want them to tell us what they hear, what they see. And we did this actually, worked that, if you will, experiment in we had a social gathering, and when the people got in, we had a certain number of principles on a table. So which principle of the ones you see out here, which one speaks to you the loudest? And then what do you hear? What does it say to you? And we took things like that, and that Pauline created a matrix where you're asking the students to, when we talked about that earlier, that we're going to learn from them. So we asked them, what does this mean to you? Because that's what's important. And we have in the neighborhood of probably 50 principles that we have collected, and we call them the living principles, because if you come up with something that nobody else has thought of, that becomes part of this collection of principles. And it's all of those things that we picked 9 to do something with. But I mean, if you go through it's called the Opportunity Seeker's Handbook. If you go through that and you see a principle and we define it, but is it complete? Is that what you hear? Is that what you believe it's about? If not, tell us, and we can affect those changes. So nothing is carved in granite, if you will. And children, as you know, they're a sponge when it comes to learning. Somehow our system manages, according to Sir Ken Robinson, who was an educationalist from England. He has since sadly passed on. But he was saying, it's, in other words, education, it's about what you feel you need to learn. And Ken Robinson was a great one. He says the first thing we need to do is to disenchant ourselves with where we've come from and try to understand where it is we need to go. And children can tell you that faster than anybody.
And you're right. We're going to take a station break. And you are absolutely right. They can. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but we're going to talk about your music.
Sure.
We're going to talk about that. But I heard those 2 songs. So that Pauline sent me. I tell you, this is an absolutely fantastic discussion and conversation. But it ain't over. We'll take a station break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to pick it up from there. Remember, yes, your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
And I believe if you utilize these 4 C's in any organization and anything that you do, it creates this thing that I call character. Life is about character. Everything you do is about character. Character can be good and bad, but we won't break character. So, as I close, I would like to thank Dale and Keith, the in and out program. I also like to present if you don't mind, remember that in order to make this a successful project, sometimes, we have to reach out there, come out of our pocket, because, our community is not just one of us, it's all of us. So, there, Keith, on behalf of the J COI Foundation, I would like to present you guys with a donation of $250.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J Coie, my absolutely fantastic guest. Yeah, we get ready to get off into to some things also that he does. I'm talking about his music, and I got him off screen right now at this time, but I'm gonna play one. Just check this out, and it's called Smiles. Here we go.
Where is all the good news? Where's the helping hand? Where are all the smiles I used to see? They gotta be here somewhere. I think I'll take a look around. Maybe try to find some harmony. All the love we used to know, just too hard to find. Giving in to feelings of despair. The world we knew is upside down. Fears replacing love. It hurts. No one seems to care. There's a smile that says hello. Another says goodbye. One that promises I'm giving you my heart. I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are. And one that keeps us close when we're apart. Talking from the darkness of all that we've been through. It seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of harmony.
Wow, I love that song. I love that, Jim.
Well, thank you. It was something I actually, Pauline had written a mind map about smiles. She had laid it on the bed before this is when we were in England. She had to go into London, and I was there by myself. And I thought, well, I'll surprise her. I'll write a song about smiles before she comes back. And that was almost 10 years ago, JC. And we recorded it a little less than a year ago, because it spoke to both of us, and we thought smiles are missing in this day and age. And something as simple as a smile and a pleasant conversation, that can take us to places that we have forgotten, and that's sad.
I hope you don't mind. I love that song, and I'm gonna put that on all of my platforms, so other people are gonna love the song as well. If that's okay with you.
Well, and it's fascinating because we were talking about entreprenology, and Pauline said, the new equation for music and entreprenology. And when I was 4 years old, my dad was taking a class in music, and he bought a piano that he kept in the student housing apartment that we rented. And the minute I saw it, JC, I knew how it worked. 4 years, I can't tell you how I knew that I knew how it worked, but I did. And my mom loved listening to the radio, and I started playing around on the piano. The first song I ever played was the Tennessee Waltz, which was something very few people remember. But entreprenology, JC, is much the same way. We see something, and we're not certain what we're seeing, but we pursue it, and then we realize, oh my goodness, I think I could be good at this, and we continue on. And if there's a passion there, and that it was interesting. I gave a lecture to it was the Brickfields Asia College in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and it was a law college. And I had been, among other things, JC, I've been a police officer, and they said maybe you could talk to our law students as somebody who's seen the inside of a jail without being locked up. And I said I'd love to, and I gave a discussion, created a discussion on what it was like to be a police officer and arrest people and put them in jail. And this one young man came up to me afterwards and he says, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "I'm not sure why I'm here because I'm really not interested in being a lawyer." I said, "Well, why are you here?" "Well, Mom and Dad said," and I've heard that so many times, you can get a good job." And I said, "But what are you interested in?" He said, "I don't know. Tell me what I should be interested in." I said, No, that's for you. What are you interested in?" He said, "Well, I don't know." And we just idle conversation. He says, "Oh," I said, all of a sudden, "I really love working on electronic things. I'm really good at it too." And I'm going, think about that for a while. But it's fascinating how we go along and we don't know what we're interested in, what we might be good at. But if it's to be, it is there. There are some people that really need to be employees. They work best when they're structured and told what to do. But it's the ones who aren't looking for a job, like a Steve Jobs or like a Sam Walton, Tom Watson, who created IBM, and they never saw what they were supposed to be, anything but what they became. And that was another tip from my late father. He said, "The trick is not starting a small business. The trick, starting a large business small."
Wow. We're down to the last 2 minutes of the show. This is fantastic. I mean, Jim, you don't know how, this is so important to have you on the show. And, to have all these discussions with that beautiful bride of yours, my buddy, Dr. Pauline, and Jim, I got to have you back on, man. Unless you're too busy. I mean, if you're too busy, I understand.
I am honored to be here now, and it would be nothing less than an honor to be invited back. So,
well, yeah, that's already decided right there. On that. Hey, but Jim, real quickly, can you,
sure.
In 45 seconds or less, can you leave our viewers and our listeners with a couple of takeaways from this great discussion that we have?
Well, what I hope they take away is that whatever it is, if you haven't determined what you should be, you just need to consult this part of your anatomy. The heart and soul will direct you if you ask it to. And the other thing is that, and this was always the big tip with the most successful people, it isn't how many times you fail, it's how many times you get back up. And that is absolute gospel.
Wow. You know what? I got to end it right now. But I want to thank you, Jim. I want to thank that beautiful wife of yours, my buddy, Dr. Pauline, for referring and saying, "Hey, you got to get Jim on the show." I got to thank Dr. Michelle Coie for always putting together an absolutely fantastic show. But most importantly, Jim, I got to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Coie Show. It's Your Life, Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to remind everybody just what Jim is saying. Always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your life. See you then.